Hey guys, it's Edwin here, and today I want to talk about why you attract toxic partners. Have you normally asked yourself questions like, why do I keep attracting these toxic people? Or do you even feel something is wrong with you? Or at times you even feel as if like there's a placard on top of your head written, I only date toxic people. In my line of work of helping people who've been in toxic relationships find peace in life, I've interacted with great caring people who meant no harm and just wanted to be in that healthy relationship. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to work in this world as it may lead you to the deep end of a narcissistic relationship. There are a number of reasons on why you may be a magnet to toxic relationships. One thing to note is that anyone can be drawn into a narcissistic relationship and it doesn't matter if you are intelligent or not. This is because a narcissistic relationship does not always start with a toxic person or a narcissist saying something like, hey, I'm very manipulative and I lie to you and make your life miserable. Can we have a cup of coffee? No. The beginning of most toxic relationships is totally the opposite of that. And the narcissist starts with a false self that goes to your needs as well as validates your experiences and feelings, which is just like a typical awesome relationship. And once you realize that mask was just something to hook you in, you will be at the deep end of the pool where it's really hard to find your way out. That's why it's important to understand some features about ourselves which make us draw toxic relationship patterns in our lives. Interestingly, what you'll find is that some of your strongest qualities may actually be the things which draw you to toxic patterns in your life. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 reasons or 5 factors that may make you susceptible to a toxic person. One thing that will make you susceptible to toxic partners is if you are a fixer and you feel that it's your job to change other people. Have you ever felt that your purpose here on earth is to fix other people or to make them better? That will draw you to toxic people because you want to fix the broken. That person may be making your life miserable and may be making you feel worse, but deep down you just have this thing that if I do A, B, C, D, I will fix them and I will make them a better person. And that will really draw you to those people who are not really working on themselves because you are the one who's going there to fix them. It's more like you just have hard time accepting things as they are. If you find yourself as a great problem solver, you will be entrapped in toxic relationship patterns because you feel that that's the best place for you to be. A toxic person will find a fixer really attractive because they want to exploit their very good nature of wanting to help. A fixer can go to extra miles to even get in debt, compromise their boundaries and their needs for the sake of other people. In my line of work, I've met people who told me that it's their life purpose and they have this calling to fix other people and bring them to light. Yes, it's okay to bring other people to light, but we also need to realize that before wanting the best for other people, you should first want the best for yourself. We also need to understand that not all people can be changed. And change only comes when someone is accountable for their actions and they have this deep conviction that they want to change. But most of the times with toxic people, they don't see any faults in their behavior and they are never accountable for their actions. So trying to change them is just like trying to talk to a rock. Another factor which may draw someone to toxic partners is the fact that they've experienced the same thing in the past. One thing about life is that we tend to recreate or relive past patterns, mostly unconsciously. For instance, if you were raised in an environment where your childhood needs of safety and love were not met, or your parents or guardians were just unavailable, unwelcoming, very controlling, or plainly abusive, there's a high chance that you will attract the same kind of people in your life. We tend to develop this subconscious belief that that's how life is supposed to be. We might even develop beliefs like we don't deserve to be heard or respected. A controlling wife or husband is a sign of love. These kind of beliefs will unconsciously draw you to someone who does just that, as it brings a certain feeling of comfort operating within those beliefs, which triggers the childhood emotional experiences and responses. We may even feel that this intense chaotic environment offered by a toxic person creates a certain feeling of an adrenaline rush, which makes life exciting. Another example is if you grew up with narcissistic parents who were so controlling and constantly blamed you for everything which was happening in their lives, then there is a higher chance of you attracting a narcissist because you were conditioned since childhood to be controlled or to take blame for someone else's shortcomings. It will mean that you will view the world so differently, and you will feel that that narcissistic relationship is the best place for you to be because it feels like home. You may also attract a toxic partner when you've been in a toxic relationship before. This is because you may feel that that environment is so familiar to you and you are well aware of what will happen. That's why seeking another relationship immediately after leaving a toxic one is a recipe for disaster, as you will be so desperate for any kind of validation you get around the corner. It's that moment where you feel so lonely that you even feel that anything is better than nothing. And when you and also when you're used to being given love from a teaspoon, you will also feel that that's a familiar kind of theme in your life and you deserve no better, which will mean that you will not view life from a different angle. That's why it's always advisable to first heal after leaving a toxic relationship before venturing into another relationship, so that at least you can open up your eyes and understand how a healthy relationship is supposed to look like. On top of this, how many times have you met that friend who tells you that they get aroused when they are mistreated or they are treated like trash? Of course, I know you've met that kind of friend. That's because that's what they are used to, and they feel that it brings a certain feeling of an adrenaline rush in their lives, or it brings a certain feeling of excitement to be in an abusive environment. That's because they are familiar to that environment. One hardly talked about factor which may draw people to toxic relationships is social conditioning. We are all conditioned to act and think in a certain way depending on the place we've been brought up. So how does this tie on to attractive toxic partners? You see, every beginning of a toxic relationship doesn't always start with a narcissist saying that I'm manipulative. It always starts with them like putting on a mask. They can put on a mask of this charming person, this good person, this really person who would be your ideal partner. And you see, for example, women have been indoctrinated mostly to look for a man who has high social status, money, and has high levels of confidence. Those are the kind of features which society glorifies more than just the internal features. This would mean that most women will pursue a man who has these socially acceptable features, and they'll even ignore other things. They'll even ignore how they are being treated by that kind of man. You might even find like women now competing for this kind of man, and we all know that those features of high social status, money, and high levels of confidence are mostly characteristics of narcissistic people. So that will mean that you will get attracted to those toxic partners because you have been geared towards looking at just the plainly physical features of a person without spending much time and scrutinizing who that person is. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with confidence, status, or those kind of features, but the conditioning creates this narrowed vision of not looking anywhere else and just looking at those physically and socially acceptable features because you want to be seen as someone who's dating this kind of person. Living in this conditional state will mean that you will forget to look at things which really matter to you, like how they make you feel. Are you comfortable? Are you feeling empowered? That is one of the reasons why you will hardly find a manipulative person who's single or who's having a dry spell, because there's always someone there who's waiting in line to have a taste of that social status or that person who has this level of confidence and that charm. Another kind of conditioning which may draw someone to toxic partners is when your parents or people around you say something like, "Will I die without seeing my grandchildren?" This statement is really understated, but if we look at the deep effect of it, it will mean that if say you're in your 30s, you may find yourself looking every corner and telling yourself, "I will just go with any man or any woman I meet around the corner." without even deeply scrutinizing if they are a good fit for you or not. Because you feel that you are running out of time and you want to have this impression to your parents or your guardians. There are many instances of conditioning from all corners of society, from church to work to family, and it's like we have been programmed to behave in a certain manner, and living life in this point of being, or in this point of where we cannot think for ourselves because of these conditions. It will mean that we will not even see things as they are, but we'll see things from the perspective of society, and that will draw you to toxic partners. To break through this spell of conditioning, you just have to be the kind of person who questions everything, which is not an easy thing to do, because that's more like freedom in itself. So that's just a little bit about conditioning. I just love this topic so much, and I'll talk more about it in the future. But here's the thing: do not just flow with the crowd. Always question everything, because at the end of the day, don't live your life in such a way that you are dependent on decisions or choices of others. It doesn't make sense. Question everything, and then from there maybe you'll find something beautiful. Another factor which may draw you to toxic partners is if you are a people pleaser and you always overstretch to make everyone happy. When you always compromise for the sake of pleasing other people, you will find it really hard to say no to any person, and by doing so, you will attract toxic people into your life. A people pleaser will rarely or will find it really hard to set and uphold their boundaries and will let anyone to walk over them. This deeply held belief that you have to make other people happy will mean that you will tend to avoid any confrontation or conflict, and will just say yes to anyone. Even if a toxic person does this to you, you'll just say yes. Because at the end of the day, it's more like, as long as everyone is happy, I'm happy. No, it does not work that way. Your happiness comes first. A people pleaser might know they are dating a toxic person, but they may choose to stay because they don't want to upset their family or the community, or even the person they are dating. A people pleaser will tend to really go along with anything which comes their way without even questioning, because they prioritize themselves last and other people first. Some aspects of a people pleaser that may draw them to a narcissist are something like they rarely say no to things they don't want. They pretend to agree with everyone. They avoid confrontation or conflict. They are very afraid of being disliked by other people. They will choose to keep quiet when they are hurt. They will extremely compromise to keep others happy. They put themselves last and other people first. That's why a people pleaser is a narcissist's favorite person, because they always say yes. So, what's better person to manipulate than someone who always says yes and bows to their demands? That's why a people pleaser and a narcissist go hand in hand. Another factor which may make you susceptible to toxic partners is low self-esteem. Self-esteem allows you to stand up for yourself when someone tries to put you down. So if you have low levels of confidence in yourself, you'll draw in toxic people in your life because they can see that you cannot stand up for yourself or even defend yourself. Low self-esteem will also mean that you are deeply insecure with yourself, and you will always seek validation from anyone just to feel secure. That means that you will be easily flattered by someone, and you will easily fall for a toxic person's lies because they make you feel worthy. This will mean that you will submit to that toxic person because you feel that they are your source of strength and make you feel hard. And once you are in the deep end of that relationship and they start withdrawing and revealing their true colors, your source of strength will be gone, and this weakens you to the point that it makes it really hard for you to live and stand up for yourself, because that person built you or made you feel worthy, and now that person is now making you feel unworthy, which really weakens you. Falling prey to a toxic person is more than just being smart. Never feel stupid for being in a toxic relationship. Anyone can be vulnerable to a toxic relationship, but some issues like people pleasing, unhealed childhood wounds, self-esteem, and lack of boundaries will just make you more susceptible. The best thing to do is always work on yourself to the point that no one can exploit your vulnerabilities and weaknesses for their selfish needs. Understanding the signs that may draw you to a toxic relationship is just one measure you can use to work on yourself before venturing into another relationship. always remember that you deserve a better life and you come first. That's it for me today. Until next time, share your thoughts on this and subscribe and share. Until next time, see ya.